This guy works as a regular cashier after graduating from university. One day during his shift, a girl cheats on him with some guy, and he accidentally finds himself in an unfamiliar world in his uniform, along with the store as a manager. He meets various waifus who help or really hinder him, but soon the manager stumbles upon the problem and solves it in a shocking way with the help of an eggplant. The manhwa begins in a capital called Oscar in this world empire. The deer man asks the vampire if he would like to have a drink in the evening after work. After the deer offered the vampire a drink of soju, he wondered what it was, maybe the final boss. Deer, hearing that the vampire, being a resident of Oscar, does not know what soju is, was very surprised. He asked the vampire if he had been to the DG supermarket, but the vampire did not know about that either. But the vampire dared to suggest whether this supermarket was somehow magical, under the control of an elf. In response to this, the deer pointed his finger behind him and said that behind him was just this Oscar attraction. Continuing to point out this amazing supermarket, the deer added that you can find everything there. Next, we are transported inside this unique supermarket. They are immediately greeted warmly. After this vampire enters this restaurant, he immediately drops his jaw at the variety. The deer adds that he heard that the local canned beer and kimbaba triangles are very tasty. Next, we see a DG supermarket worker named Kim Do-jin. He is currently 28 years old. Next, the waiter announces that the next customer can pass. In front of us is a pumped-up Giga Chad. Immediately after this man puts down what he bought in this place, the cashier, as usual, punches. But after this giant jock bought a can of beer, he became embarrassed and asked for child protection. While in the real world a supermarket is something ordinary, here it is a special place. It all costs the guy 40 gold. While we are watching the store manager scolding his cashier, we learn that the history of this place began 3 years ago. A guy we already knew, being a 25-year-old just recovered student and a homebody, suffered from reality. While the girl he had been dating since college became his strength, we watched the correspondence. But at one point he witnessed a shocking scene. He saw his girlfriend with another guy. While the guy was listening to the fact that this girl was ready to polish the dumbbell of the man next to her, tears welled up in the guy's eyes. After the blonde man next to her saw this, he asked her if they knew each other, to which the girl replied no. Before the shock of seeing his own girlfriend in the company of some guy completely enveloped him, he suddenly found himself trapped in a new world with supermarkets. He just suddenly appeared somewhere else out of nowhere. This is how our main character, who once worked part-time, suddenly became a manager. The vampire Dimitri, who is turned on by the human smell, informs our main character that there are no goods on the 3rd floor. After our main character heard about such a problem, he assigned the employee Sylvia to work at the cash register. Wiping the sweat from her face, Sylvia accepted the manager's order and asked what goods were on the 3rd floor. Before us is the noble heiress expelled from the family, a former student of the Imperial Academy, Sylvia Polio. Approaching the girl, our shitty hero replied that there were things there intended for dangerous monsters and she shouldn't worry. Immediately after the supermarket worker heard the word monsters, she panicked greatly. The girl was already ready to burst into tears and she hadn't even been paid for the work yet. She tried to calm herself down because she just needed to wash the shelves. Next, the course of events is transferred to that very 3rd floor. This is a corner of goods for those who are already playing serious games with each other. Looking at the empty shelves on this floor for adults, this worker realized that all the earthquake machines had already been sold out. Fortunately, in this magical world, you can place purchase orders through the system screen. The girl ordered a lot of toys not for children. Looking at these lists, our main character and manager were going to make sure that the innocent workers did not know what these toys were for. Our main character was sincerely jealous of those who can experience the pleasure of using a fake dumbbell or all sorts of toys. The past version of our protagonist could easily make his dumbbell become hard at his very first whim. All this was due to the fact that our main character's dumbbell has been old for a long time. Since he got here, his dumbbell has become weak. While picking up goods for the 3rd floor, our main character realized that not a single girl tried to play games with him. He was very disappointed. After a couple of moments, something very strange happens near our main character. An incredibly bright flash happens very nearby. Our main character immediately turns towards the incident in order to understand what the hell is happening right now. These strange, unexpected special effects continue. We watch as they rush into the shelves and everything around becomes very bright. The situation in the store is as if someone threw a stun grenade into the store. The employee Sylvia is also in bewilderment, calling the manager. A couple of moments after this, a woman with purple hair appears in front of us. She reports that she missed her brother. Right now in front of us is the youngest professor of the Imperial Academy, and also a 7th rank magician, a girl named Lapis Barthion. Judging by the face of our main character, this is not the first appearance of this girl. He simply asks her not to disturb him and get out of his store. Many say that Lapis is a famous magician of this world. Meanwhile, she replies that she came here as one of the few magicians to meet in person. Despite the popularity of this girl, for our main character, the manager, she is just a problematic visitor who sometimes comes and spoils his goods. Next, this girl tells our main character that he definitely has bad manners since he can't treat her like a VIP person. Next, we watch as this girl takes a packet of chips from the counter, and then she opens it without paying. She wants to find out where this guy is from. Our main character immediately snatches a pack of chips from Lapis's hands and asks her who sent her here. He asks her to forget about this damn place. But the girl replies that she expected a similar answer from the lout, and it will be very interesting for her to watch how he begs her. In response to this, our main character folded his hands in front of him and asked her how many times he told her that he would not help her with research. In response to another request to leave, the girl again answers our main character that she doesn't want to, because he doesn't even imagine how rare such specimens as he are. Further, this girl reports that one day a strangely dressed man in a supermarket with him appeared on the territory of this empire. This girl continued saying that this man did not appear alone, but with a supermarket that sells simply unheard of goods in this world. Looking at him, Lapis realized that he seemed organized enough to become an object of research, even though he was affected by magic. After that, this girl asked our main character if he didn't have enough of all these facts in order for him to voluntarily agree to the study. Store worker Sylvia abruptly intervenes in the conversation. She asks Lapis what he means by research and whether she will take responsibility for the decline in sales. Immediately after this, Lapis sees the employee of this store. She tells her that if she talks to her so coldly, she will definitely be upset. This girl reminded the employee that she was once her mentor. Given their past relationship, she should have been on her side. But after Sylvia heard that this girl considered herself a mentor, she immediately got angry. She reminded her that it was she who excluded her. Our main character, standing on the sidelines at that moment, understood that if this girl's anger continued, she would simply destroy his store. After the manager realized this, he approached the girl and asked her to return to the cash register because her shift was almost over and she had done a good job. Having calmed the girl down, the guy was able to return her to the checkout. Meanwhile, Lapis informed our main character that now they were left alone with each other. Next, this impudent girl called our main character a naughty manager. In response to this, the guy turned around and demanded that she stop saying that. Lapis continued by telling our main character that for her, only because he owns this supermarket, she asked her if he knew it. Looking at this girl, the manager understood that he could not compete with a high-level magician alone, so he limited himself to words. But there is one special reason why he still remained unharmed. The guy began to use magic to quickly drive away this annoying girl. Continuing to use his magic to drive away this annoying girl who was ruining his goods, he informed her that she was sitting on the table instead of a chair. Continuing to generate some strange technique, our main character told this Lapis not to bother paying for chips, it's better to eat his snacks. Our main character also decided to ask this girl where she got the habit of interfering in the affairs of other people's store employees. The magic of our protagonist worked fully only within his domain, that is, the store. Meanwhile, Lapis understood that she had achieved her goal. Having directed his technique directly at this girl, the guy sent this arrogant girl to go and get at least a primary education. He called her a piece of crap. Our protagonist's incredible abilities within the confines of his supermarket meant that within these four walls he was an invincible Giga-Chad. Despite the fact that a magic projectile was aimed at this girl, she continued to stand in place. Judging by her face, she was clearly planning something. Next, this girl with purple hair said that she had been waiting for this opportunity for a very long time. She again answered the guy that she did not want to go anywhere. Immediately after our main character sent an attack on this girl, she sent a technique in response, thereby saving herself from receiving damage. At this moment, things were much worse for our main character because purple chains flew in his direction and tightly limited his movements. While our main character understood that now he could not move, he also tried to understand why this girl could use magic in his store. After our main character spent a few more seconds in these strange energy chains, he began to feel his energy begin to deplete. At this moment, our main character realized that he was in a very bad situation. He still could not understand how the hell this bitch could use magic in his store. With each subsequent second that our main character was under the influence of this girl's magic, he lost more and more strength. He was close to losing consciousness. At this point, the course of events ends abruptly, and we continue when our main character slowly opens his sleepy eyes, hearing from the girl that his face is cute during sleep. After our main character fully opened his eyes, he realized that he was in something similar to pillows. The girl was surprised that the guy was able to wake up. Our main character ended up in a magic tower. This is a place where experiments and research are carried out, which in turn violate all the laws of magic in this world. Returning to our main character, we watch as he is tied to a chair. He wonders why he is in the magic tower. He asks Lapis what she did. Taking out a sharp knife and approaching the guy, this girl answered the guy that this is a secret, and his magic definitely won't work here, so he can forget about escaping from this place. Our main character already believed that he was definitely able to escape from his miserable life and live well, but apparently, unfortunately, he was very wrong. After the guy found himself in such a helpless position, this girl told him that now she could begin her research. The guy could not believe such a death. Immediately after our main character thought about the question of whether he would die at the hands of this girl, she swung her knife at our main character with full swing. Before striking, she asked the guy if she told him that now his attempts to use his magic in this place are multiplied by 0. At the moment, a real mess is happening in the head of our main character because he woke up in this place and right now he is at risk of losing his life. He is trying to understand if this is true. One more moment and we watch how, after stabbing this girl with a knife, our main character remains healthy, which certainly cannot be said about his shirt. At this moment, our main character asks Lapis if she has gone crazy. Meanwhile, the girl is thinking about starting with the guy's lower body. Next, we watch as this abnormal girl points a knife at our main character's boyfriend. The guy immediately shouts to this girl to stop immediately. After the guy understands what he risks losing right now, he shouts that he would rather die than let this girl deprive him of her limousine. Immediately after this, the girl was surprised by the reaction of our protagonist, or more precisely, by his fear. She immediately assumed that the limousine was this guy's weak point. Another couple of moments, and we watched as our protagonist's limo rolled out of his garage against the will of its owner. He was clearly not in the mood. After this girl began to closely examine our protagonist's limousine, which turned into a lawnmower, she realized that this was the guy's weak point. Then we watched as this girl approached even closer to our protagonist's device, examining it from all sides. She immediately understood where the guys put on the small hood. Another couple of moments and this girl decides that our protagonist's device measures the force of compression, so she squeezes it with all her might to pull it out for study. Our main character immediately shouts to this girl to immediately stop doing such nonsense, he added, saying that this is really serious. Another couple of moments and this girl is faced with a problem while she continues to pull the guy's device towards herself. She realizes that it is not removable. Is it really not removable? After our main character shouts to this girl that this is his limousine, she continues to hold it, and the manager realizes that this girl's face is constantly changing. Apparently, our main character is already becoming awkward. Meanwhile, the girl also understands that the longer she holds the limousine in her hands, the faster the guy's face changes. Then a brilliant idea comes to this girl's head. She wonders what will happen if she decides it's ice cream. Immediately after that, she starts researching. At this moment, our main character is embarrassed and surprised because he would never have thought that he would feel from Lapis, something that he had never felt during self-service. Meanwhile, this girl apparently got carried away in her imagination because she continued to greedily eat our protagonist's ice cream. Then she reports that she made a decision. After this girl looks up from eating ice cream, she reports that during today's research, she will definitely defeat this friend. At this moment, the course of events stops and we are immersed in the story of this girl. Her name, as we already know, is Lapis Bardian. She is a magician of the 7th rank and has been considered a genius since childhood. In this girl's teenage years, while she was still studying at the academy, her classmates often approached her and wanted to train with her. But this girl's character was clearly not the softest. After she was asked to practice magic, she asked if they could do it on their own and called everyone idiots. This girl's teenage years were devoid of absolutely everything except magic. She always immediately refused all offers from guys to have lunch together. And this did not change for many more years. Even when she had already matured, everyone was discussing the fact that she did not leave the laboratory for several days, so she became the youngest professor. Next, we see the back of Lapis, who sits and studies many thousands of pages. She was bored because all these research topics are the same, old, banal options. After this girl personally reread all the sources of knowledge in the Imperial Library, she decided that she had nothing more to gain from these banal sources. Continuing to think, this girl decided that she could not carry out unlimited research using the resources of the Empire, which meant there was even less reason to stay here. It was this train of thought that brought this girl to where she is now. Before that, there were no places that made her heart pound and ignite her academic interest. At this moment of eating ice cream, the girl realized that she had finally stumbled upon a new subject of research that she had never heard of or seen. Looking at this girl's face at that moment, we understood that now she was truly happy near the Gigachada dumbbell, because she found what she was looking for. At the moment, this girl was only 23 years old. Our main character sharply asks this girl if she really doesn't know what she's eating right now. Immediately after our main character realized that this girl in front of him really doesn't know anything about men's equipment, he simply could not contain his laughter. Lapis asked our main character why he started laughing at her, because there is nothing strange in not knowing something, especially since she really understands it. Out of anger at our main character, she started hitting his dumbbell. The guy immediately ordered this girl to stop, because when she does this, it really hurts him. Holding our protagonist's device in her hands and looking at it in 4K quality, she simply could not help but notice that it was too ugly and strangely built. At this moment, Lapis began to stroke the limousine of our main character. Our main character immediately changed his voice, and he warned that if she didn't stop, something would happen. However, this girl didn't care, and she continued to academically study the thing in front of her. He realized that it smelled like soap, which means apparently the guy cares about it. At this moment, our main character completely forgot where he was. All his thoughts were about the fact that his limousine was finally able to start only from the touches of this girl. But most of all, our main character was surprised by the fact that the girl in front of him had never ridden in limousines, especially since she had never seen them, which is strange. Meanwhile, this girl continued to think that there was ice cream in front of her. She realized that delivering a critical hit was most likely due to the guy's hormones. Immediately after the girl was absolutely convinced that this was the guy's weakness, she wanted to figure out how to completely start this guy's limousine. At this moment, this guy's thoughts were that he had never felt anything like this. This had been happening for too long and it was driving him crazy. Next, we observe how this girl's gaze suddenly became very playful. Apparently, she came up with an idea on how to make this guy experience feelings. Immediately after the idea came into this girl's head, she decided to take the initiative and take the ice cream into her mouth. She already noticed that he was making a strange face while doing this. But this time the girl was not limited to just her tongue, so our main character immediately trembled and asked this girl why she bit his ice cream because they don't eat it like that. Immediately after this girl realized that, judging by the words of our main character, she had made a mistake, she pulled away from our main character's ice cream. After this girl did a little experiment, she immediately wrote down that people from another world feel pain after they are bitten on a weak spot. At this moment, our main character was confused. Despite the fact that he was in captivity, he was wondering whether he should continue to obey Lapis. Next, our main character began to get angry at this girl, telling her that she should just wait and he will definitely repay her for what she did. In response to a threat from our main character, this girl just looked him in the eye and said that these were too loud words for a person who could not move. A couple of conventions after this girl answered our main character, she looked at him with the eyes of a predator and wondered what human blood tastes like. Our main character was far from stupid, so he immediately caught this strange look from this girl. He was trying to understand what the hell it meant. After this girl understood how to fight our main character according to his rules, she once again drove his limousine straight into her mouth to cause him pain. But as soon as this girl with purple hair started eating ice cream again, we immediately saw that her fuel tank began to leak. Next, this girl made another observation. She noticed that the longer she eats our main character's ice cream, the bigger, harder, and hotter it becomes. Next, we began to observe that our main character's ice cream became so big that in this girl's mouth it began to melt and everything fell to the ground. Apparently, this girl overestimated her capabilities. When she decided that she could immediately cope with ice cream of this size, her jaw even cramped. This girl's head was clearly hit with cold or something worse, because she began to eat ice cream even more diligently. She realized that she was so hungry that she could not breathe. At this moment, the face of our main character began to turn redder and redder, apparently just a little more, and he would have turned into a real tomato. Next, our main character realized that this girl's teeth are in contact with his device because she is very inexperienced in such matters, but he likes it even more. Apparently, this girl really liked the taste of our protagonist's ice cream. Despite continuing her research, she could not understand the nature of this guy. The more she continues to eat this guy's ice cream, which looks more like a strange thing, the faster her own body changes. It's definitely something strange. Then we watch as the ice cream begins to melt more and more, and something begins to pulsate below her, and everything becomes too strange because her fuel tank has spilled. After a couple of moments, this girl finally realized that her fuel tank was definitely broken, but she still didn't fully understand it, trying to understand what was pouring onto the floor. After the girl tried to go to the toilet to solve the problem, our main character shut her mouth and said that if she left, he would immediately run away. Our main character, deep down in his soul, always understood that there was nothing better than an inexperienced girl. He continued to enjoy the emotions that he received during torture. Looking at this whole spectacle, our main character understood that if he could somehow free one hand, the process would become much more exciting. Our main character tried with all his might to free one of his hands in order to improve the process several hundred times, but everything was unsuccessful. After this girl saw out of the corner of her eye that our main character was trying to free his hands, she looked puzzled at his tense face. Next, we witnessed that our main character was still unable to withstand this extreme torture, so his volcano began to erupt right here. The girl was in complete shock after she saw so much magma around. She asked the guy what it was. He asked her if she really wanted to know. Our main character continued by saying that he would cooperate with you because she made him feel good. He asked her if she was interested in him teaching her. The girl listened in surprise to every word of our tied-up protagonist. After she heard his proposal, she asked him what kind of strange game he started. Next, our main character answered this girl that he would cooperate with her in her research only after she untie his right hand. The girl with magma on her face looked at our protagonist puzzledly after she listened to his proposal. She asked him why she should trust him, but our main character reminded the girl that she could just not do this because he was just trying to give them both the opportunity to have a little fun. Immediately after this girl heard our main character's proposal, she stood up and looked at him puzzled, asking what he meant. Further, our main character replied that her fuel tank was leaking too much for her to doubt his words, because she probably already understood everything. A couple of moments after our main character pointed out an obvious fact in the language of facts, she decided that she still needed this guy's help. But there was a nuance. Looking at our main character's limousine from afar, she understood that it was because of her that her fuel tank behaved so strangely and then leaked. The guy said that he could show a lot more. After our main character intrigued this girl with the fact that he could show her many more interesting things, she immediately, judging by her face, began to actively make a decision. The guy continued by telling this girl that she would never learn anything if she continued to keep him tied up. He added that after the game, she would feel better. A couple of moments later, continuing his attempts to convince the waifu, he said that this game would be 100 times better than just eating his Sigma flavor ice cream, and he would have no strength left. Our main character also reminded this girl that his special magic does not work outside of his store, so he will not be able to escape from this place anyway. In order to finally convince this girl, our main character reminded Lapis that his one hand would still be tied, after which the girl believed that she was invincible. After this, Sigma managed to persuade this girl to agree to his conditions. She told him that in this case, she would only free his right hand, as he asked. Immediately after this girl agreed to the conditions of our main character, she directed her hand with a magic spell onto the hand of our main character. At the moment of using the magic of liberation on the hand of our main character, this girl thought only of one thing. She would finally get a new experience, and this is really not bad. And our main character began to smile at that moment, because we all already understood why he convinced the girl. He probably already imagined different possible episodes. But immediately after this girl, trusting our main character, freed one of his hands, she was very surprised and looked at this guy with frightened eyes. Next, we watch as some strange thing appeared in the hand of our main character. He said that he took it just in case and needed it. Immediately after the guy said this, he took this strange thing in his right hand and said that in front of him was really a very unpredictable girl, so it would not be amiss. The guy has a machine for local earthquakes in his hands. He can neutralize the magical power of the selected target for 3 hours. He must come into contact with the target in order to select it. But the side effect of this item is that while using this device, the sensitivity of the selected target for the device increases 5 times. Immediately after our main character took this thing out here, he immediately used it on this girl because she immediately began to shake and look at her body. Looking at her hands and continuing to tremble, she immediately realized that with each subsequent second, her magical power began to leave her body faster and faster and fade away. After our main character, with a satisfied smile on his face, took this thing into his hands again, he told the girl that now it was her turn to suffer and everything would be fair. Immediately after our main character finished this line, he pressed a button on this device to create local earthquakes, and it immediately began to work. As soon as the guy pressed lightly on this device, the target of this device, Lapis, immediately began to feel a strange sensation, as if an earthquake had started in her body. At that moment, this girl's fuel tank was simply destroyed by the weapon of our protagonist. At that moment, Lapis realized that she had fallen into the Joker's trap, and the guy was smiling. Realizing that she was trapped by Lapis, she immediately began to get angry and call the guy a damn bastard, because he still dared to fool her after she trusted him. At this moment, our main character told this girl that he honestly doesn't understand. She's naive or just stupid. It's strange not to know about guys' limousines when you're already 23 years old. Immediately after this girl realized that all this time she had been eating and was eating so greedily, the realization came into her head that it was not ice cream and a dumbbell, which shocked her. The guy replied that she understood everything correctly, and now he is in a period when he needs to train hard, so she will have to take responsibility for this and help him. Next, this girl smiled playfully and told the guy that he could simply invite her to train together. and not come up with such a funny excuse for this. Immediately after our main character heard about the funny excuse from this girl, he immediately went on the attack, reminding him that she was breaking into his supermarket and getting into his business. Immediately after this, the guy also reminded that this girl just a few minutes ago suddenly kidnapped him, after which he ended up in this magic tower. After the guy accused this girl on all fronts, he tore her unnecessary rags that she was wearing for some reason, and said that he was very generous in listing all this. However, the girl was not at all afraid of what our main character was going to do. She said that it was wonderful, and provoked the guy to do it because she was not afraid at all. Next, this girl asked the guy if he really thought that someone like him would make her feel at least something. The guy got very angry when he heard this. Immediately after this incredible insult, this girl said that her garage has its own standards that this guy definitely cannot pass. After the guy heard all this, he asked this girl if she was really 100% sure of her words. He invited her to argue. Next, the guy said that if he finishes the game first, he will fulfill any one wish of this girl, and if she loses, then she will never return to his supermarket. After Lapis heard these extremely favorable conditions, she told the guy that she would gladly accept these conditions and win. Further, this girl in her thoughts understood that all these conversations had already begun to start her garage. She realized that the subject of her research was limousines and garages. Next, this girl realized that she had never trained together. She would feel humiliating if this guy made her feel something. But Lapis also understood that she no longer had any other choice. Besides, she needed to definitely find an opportunity to steal the guy's device at any cost. Next, our main character wished good luck to this girl in her attempts to hold out with such a beast of training as he, because it will really be very damn difficult for her.